The town of Ashford Hollow, Vermont, sat buried between endless forests and frozen hills, the kind of place that didn't show up on most GPS maps unless you zoomed in far enough. Winters there lasted longer than they should. Snow didn't just fall, it lingered. The air always smelled faintly of pine, smoke, and something metallic. Most families in Ashford Hollow had lived there for generations, and most of them shared the same last names. The Mercer family was one of the oldest. Older than the church, older than the town records. No one really knew when they first arrived, but everyone knew one thing. The Mercers never truly left. Daniel Mercer was the first in his family to move away. At 28, he lived nearly 300 miles south in Boston, working as a freelance video editor. He liked the distance, the noise, the anonymity, because distance meant silence, and silence meant he didn't have to think about home. Daniel wasn't estranged from his family, not officially. He still called his mother every Sunday, still sent Christmas gifts, still visited once a year. But every time he drove back into Ashford Hollow, something inside him tightened. A childhood instinct. Like walking into a room where someone had just been arguing, even when everything looked normal.
The Mercer house stood at the edge of town, farther than the streetlights reached. A two-story colonial home built sometime in the early 1900s. White paint peeling, wraparound porch, tall, narrow windows that reflected the trees like black mirrors. Behind the house, the forest began immediately. As a child, Daniel had always felt the trees were watching, not in a childish imagination way, in a quiet, patient way, like they were waiting for something to happen. Childhood memory dialogue. Young Daniel: "Mom, why don't we have neighbors?" Mother smiling: "We do, they're just farther away." But he knew that wasn't true. No other house lights were visible at night. None. The call came in late January. Daniel almost didn't answer. It was his father, which was unusual. His father rarely called unless something was wrong or important. Dialogue. Father, calm, firm: "Your mother wants you home this weekend." Daniel: "Is everything okay?" A pause, longer than normal. Father: "Yes, it's time." Daniel felt a strange chill move through his chest. Daniel: "For what?" Another pause. Then his father said something he hadn't heard since childhood. "Father, the covenant." The word hit him like a forgotten nightmare, a memory without details, a feeling without images. And suddenly, he didn't want to go home. But he knew he would, because Mercers didn't refuse family. They never had.
The road into Ashford Hollow hadn't changed. Same cracked asphalt, same endless trees, same radio static once he crossed the county line. Snow began falling heavier as he drove, and about 10 miles from town, Daniel noticed something strange. Orange ribbons tied around tree branches along the road. Dozens of them, bright, almost glowing against the snow. His stomach tightened, because suddenly he remembered. They used to tie those ribbons every winter, every single year, for the covenant, but he couldn't remember why. By the time Daniel reached the Mercer house, night had already fallen. Snow covered the driveway in a smooth, untouched sheet, except for one thing: footprints, several sets, leading from the house toward the forest, not away from it, toward it. Daniel sat in his car for a moment, engine running, watching his childhood home. The porch light flickered slightly, just like it used to when he was a kid. Some things never changed. That thought didn't comfort him. It unsettled him. The front door opened before he even reached the steps. His mother stepped out, smiling warmly. Exactly the same. Same soft eyes,
Same gentle posture, as if time had paused for her. Danny, you made it. She hugged him tightly, longer than normal, almost like she didn't want to let go. Behind her, his father stood in the doorway, silent.
Inside, the house smelled exactly the same. Wood polish, fireplace smoke, and faintly, oranges. That smell triggered something deep in Daniel's memory, something old, something he didn't want to remember. Dinner was already prepared. Roasted chicken, potatoes, homemade bread. Normal, almost aggressively normal. His parents talked about town gossip, neighbors, weather, small things, safe things. But Daniel noticed something strange. They never asked about his life. Not his job, not Boston, not anything. It was like he had never left, like he had simply returned to continue something unfinished. Daniel, so, Dad said something about a covenant? His mother and father exchanged a quick glance, barely noticeable, but Daniel saw it. His father wiped his mouth slowly with a napkin. Father, you're old enough now. That was not an answer. That night, Daniel slept in his old bedroom. Nothing had changed. Same furniture, same posters, same scratch marks on the closet door he didn't remember making. Around 2:17 a.m., he woke up. At first, he didn't know why. Then he heard it, whispering. Outside, soft voices, multiple people. And then, a smell. Strong, sweet, citrus, oranges. His heart started beating faster, because suddenly, a memory surfaced. Him as a child, standing in the snow, holding an orange candle, surrounded by adults, all whispering together.
Daniel slowly walked to the window. His breath fogged the glass. And when he looked outside, his stomach dropped. People, dozens of them, standing at the edge of the forest, holding small orange lights, candles, lanterns. He recognized some of them, neighbors, town residents, people he'd known his whole life. They weren't talking loudly. They were murmuring, rhythmically, like a prayer. Then, every single one of them turned and looked directly at his window, at him, at the same time, as if they knew he was watching. A knock came from his bedroom door. Daniel nearly jumped. His mother's voice followed, soft, calm, comforting. "It's time, Danny." The exact same words his father had used earlier. It's time. Something about that phrase felt rehearsed, practiced, ancient. Time for what? A pause. Then his mother answered, "For you to remember." Those words sent a chill down his spine, because deep down, he already knew. He just didn't want to. When Daniel opened the door, his mother was holding something, a folded piece of fabric. Orange, deep burnt orange, almost rust-colored, heavy, ceremonial. His father stood behind her, silent, watching him carefully. "You wore this before." Daniel's chest tightened. "I don't remember that." His father spoke, for the first time since dinner. "You will." The robe felt heavier than it should have. Not physically, emotionally, like it carried memories inside its fabric. Daniel followed his parents outside. Cold air hit his lungs sharply. The group of townspeople stood silently near the tree line, waiting. No one greeted him. No one smiled. They simply watched. Then one of the older men stepped forward and handed Daniel a lantern. The glass inside glowed with a deep orange flame. Not yellow, not red, orange. And the moment Daniel grabbed it, a pulse of déjà vu ran through him. Welcome back. Not welcome home. Welcome back. They walked into the forest. Snow crunched under dozens of synchronized footsteps, and with every step, Daniel realized something terrifying. He knew this path, instinctively, like muscle memory. Turn left near the broken birch tree, step over the exposed root, duck under the low branch. His brain remembered, even if his mind didn't. Psychological layer. Memories began flickering, fragments, voices chanting, cold hands holding his shoulders, the smell of oranges burning, a child crying, and someone saying, "Don't be afraid, it chose you." The tree suddenly opened into a clearing, and there it was, the church. Daniel's breath caught in his throat, because he had never seen it before, but somehow he recognized it. Stone walls, tall Gothic windows glowing orange from inside, strange symbols carved into the exterior, symbols that looked ancient, not Christian, not anything he recognized. Yet his stomach twisted with familiarity. "Mother, you were baptized here." Daniel turned to her sharply. "What?" But she just smiled. As they approached the doors, a violent headache hit Daniel. Images slammed into his mind. Him as a child, standing in the same clearing, smaller robe, same orange light, same people, same whispers. And then, something else, something impossible, something standing behind the church, tall, too tall, watching, waiting. Psychological fear. The worst part wasn't the memory. It was the feeling that it had always been there, his entire life, watching him grow. Inside the church, there were no pews, no altar, no cross, only a large circular symbol carved into the stone floor, and dozens of oranges placed around it, fresh, bright, perfectly arranged. The smell was overwhelming, sweet, rotting, burning, all at once. Daniel's father stepped into the circle and spoke calmly, like this was normal. Dialogue. "Our family made a promise long before you were born." Daniel's chest tightened. "What promise?" His father looked directly into his eyes and said the words that changed everything. "To keep it sleeping." Silence filled the church. Then Daniel asked the question he didn't want answered. "Keep what sleeping?" His mother whispered the answer, barely audible. "The thing that chose you." The orange candle flames flickered violently, even though there was no wind inside the church. Daniel felt a strange pressure in his ears, like altitude change, like something heavy pressing against reality itself. His father stepped closer to him inside the circle, calm, almost proud. Generations ago, before this town existed, something came out of the forest. Daniel didn't speak. He couldn't. It wasn't evil. That word surprised him. But it wasn't human either. A pause. Then, it was hungry. The candle flames suddenly stretched taller, orange light reflecting in everyone's eyes. Daniel's head started pounding again, but this time, the memories didn't come in fragments. They came whole. He was 7 years old, standing in this exact circle, crying. His mother kneeling in front of him, holding his face gently. "It's okay, Danny. It won't hurt you." Behind her, something moved in the shadows of the church doorway. Too large to be a person, too still to be an animal. A silhouette that bent slightly, just to fit inside the frame. The worst part, no one else was afraid. The adults were relieved, grateful, like they had been waiting for this moment. Back in the present, Daniel staggered slightly. You let it near me?" His mother stepped forward quickly, tears in her eyes, but she was smiling with relief. "It chose you, Danny." "Chose me for what?" His father answered, calm, matter of fact, like explaining a family tradition. "To bond." The word echoed in Daniel's mind. Bond. Not attack, not possess, bond. According to them, the entity needed a human anchor, a living connection to this world. Without it, it would wake fully, and if it woke fully, it would feed. His father pointed to the oranges around the circle. The covenant keeps it calm. Daniel's breathing grew faster. What covenant? His father spoke the rule slowly, clearly. Once every 13 years, the chosen one renews the bond. Daniel froze, because he already knew what the next sentence would be. And if they refuse? Silence filled the church. Then his mother whispered, "It wakes up hungry."
A low sound filled the church. At first, Daniel thought it was wind. Then he realized it was coming from beneath the floor, a deep vibration, like something massive shifting in its sleep. Dust fell from the ceiling. The candle flames bent toward the center of the circle. And then, one of the oranges split open by itself, juice leaking across the stone. Dark, too dark, almost like blood. Psychological impact. Daniel's survival instinct screamed. This wasn't a story. This wasn't a tradition. Something was actually there, under them, waiting. Then Daniel heard it, not with his ears, inside his head. A voice, ancient, slow, heavy, like words moving through thick liquid. Entity voice, telepathic. You came back. Daniel's knees nearly gave out. The voice continued, mine. And suddenly, every childhood nightmare made sense, because it had never been dreams. It had been communication.